Guys, our friends at BioOptimizers just released their new and improved formula for Magnesium Breakthrough, the most powerful magnesium supplement on the market today. This new 4th generation formula means Magnesium Breakthrough is now even more potent and effective for reducing stress, improving sleep, and boosting energy levels. In every bottle of Magnesium Breakthrough, you're going to get 7 unique forms of organic, full-spectrum magnesium, which supports your physical and mental health. Just take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you'll be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels. In addition to Magnesium Breakthrough, pick up a bottle of Mazymes to help you build more lean muscle and P3OM to reduce gas and bloating. BioOptimizers offers a full 1-year money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, just send back your remaining unopened bottle within 365 days. They're going to give you a full refund. Visit biooptimizers.com/Chael and use the promo code Chael. That's going to save you 10% and get you free shipping, or just click on the link below. Over the weekend, Dustin Poirier sends out a tweet, and he says, "I want to fight." That's all he says. Gilbert Burns writes him back and says, "Do you want to fight at 170? Okay, now that's an interesting match. I have never considered that match. The only thing I've ever considered for Dustin Poirier at 170 pounds was the Colby Covington call-out, which I did not think Dustin should do on his first time at 170, but I've only considered that. And then the Nate Diaz fight, which has a long history, and they already agreed to fight. It was going to be Madison Square Garden years ago, and I think the weight was, I think they were doing a catch weight of 165, right? It was one of these things, but that's a big fight. That's a special fight. He's going to leave the division. Now, back up on Poirier. Poirier is a 55-pounder. He has never told us he's going 170. He got called out by a 70-pounder, and he was willing to make things work with Diaz. Now, there's one more piece of the story. Don't think you need to correct me. Just before Dustin fought for the championship with Charles Oliveira, it was like fight week. It was like 3 days before. Out of nowhere, Dustin just says, if I win this fight, I'll never defend it. I'm done with the division. I'm giving the belt up. I'm going to 170. That's the one and only time that Dustin has ever spoken out about actually going to 170. Now, if we're going to hold him to that, if we're going to say a guy that's stressed out of his mind, that's cutting weight and uncomfortable, but if we're going to hold him to his word was, if I win. And I think that that's relevant because I just still think of Dustin as a 55-pounder. I have personally asked him this question. He personally told me, I don't know. That was a meaningful amount of time ago. That was 2 weeks after his last fight. Just to share a timeline with you. So what do you think of Gilbert Burns versus Dustin? Like, that's really interesting. Dustin did not respond. What do you interpret that to mean? Well, that Dustin's probably thinking about it. Now, before he does that, deep breath. It's very hard to be a bona fide badass like Dustin is, and to get called out on something as big as Twitter and not respond. It's very tough. Puts Dustin in a very tough spot. The absolute best thing that Dustin could do, though, is what he's done so far, and it's only been 48 hours, but do nothing. It's really paramount because it's so hard to do. It's so hard to take a deep breath in this sport. You get Jones in, you get the itch back, you see a couple of big shows, you start thinking about yourself being in there, you have a good training session. There's different things that would lead Dustin to going to Twitter in the first place and saying, I want to fight. There's different things, and I'm sure that I'm close to touching on what happened. But if you rush that moment, right? And for Dustin specifically, I did not understand how much you guys like Dustin. To attach the word star to Dustin. I've asked you many times, does Dustin Poirier qualify at this point to go into that rare category of a Masvidal, of a McGregor, of a Diaz, where whatever he does is going to be a big deal. Whatever he does is going to be accepted. Dustin said 1 week ago, I have not spoke to the UFC. But I think when Conor comes back, they're going to redo that fight. Now, that's a big clue as well, because that's likely to be done at 55. We don't have an assurance of that because Dustin could follow Conor to 70, and the only reason we believe it's going to be 55 is Conor wanted everything the same the time that he lost to Nate Diaz, so we believe that Conor would want everything the same when he refights Dustin. So you see how we don't have much information? That's my point. I'm pulling you in this direction with a little bit of a clue, and then I'm pulling you in this direction with a quote that a guy made. I'm pulling you over here with a tweet that I read. Here's why I personally believe Dustin needs to keep training, keep that hunger, and take those oars out of the water for a minute, okay? If Dustin's to go to 170, there are very special fights, such as the two that I just named, McGregor, Nate Diaz. Very special and fun and interesting fights. Gilbert Burns is a contender's fight. So Dustin is going to have to make his decision. Is he just going to go do fun fights? Does he qualify for that yet? Is he there? And you guys are the ones that have to put him there. But I've been in the arena with Dustin Poirier where the camera just, they do the cameo. The camera just pops on him. His face pops up on the screen. And that building has gone crazy. You guys love him. So maybe he does belong in that special category, of which, if he does, he's got a few more options. Come back to Gilbert Burns specifically. That's a contender's fight for anybody. You get over on Gilbert Burns at 170, you are going to have a huge and beautiful ranking. Dana has promised Gilbert Burns a big fight, which likely means a main event. So now you not only got to fight a guy in a ranking style, in a contender style fight, you got to fight him for 25 minutes. What happens if you beat him? It's not enough to get you the world title fight. It gets you a step closer. Now hold that thought, because down at 55, if Dustin heeds my advice and says nothing, he lays out completely for just a few more weeks, 155 could be very different. If Justin Gaethje wins, don't forget those two fought and Dustin beat him. All of a sudden, Dustin is right back in the mix, and he may not draw into an immediate title fight. I know they're looking at Benny, they're looking at Islam, but I would suggest that he could be one away. Even if the winner of Benny Islam takes on the winner of Gaethje, Oliveira, like that championship is not secured, is what I'm trying to suggest for you. 155 is not secured. Gaethje's got a chance to go grab it, but then somebody else really good between Benny and Islam has a chance to grab it from Gaethje. If Oliveira gets over on Gaethje, that doesn't change. It's going to be very hard for Oliveira or anyone to hold on to that belt, and that's just fresh parity. That opens a whole new door without throwing a single punch, without doing a single training camp, without doing a single weigh-in, without signing a single contract. It opens a whole new realm of possibilities for Dustin. And we're only a few weeks away. So if Dustin can just lay low for a minute, right? Like anybody, Dustin's got the right to see what his options are. He probably did not feel his ego bruised. He probably did not feel threatened that he was challenged by Gilbert Burns. Gilbert did everything right. Dustin went first. He threw his name out there. Gilbert did everything right. Came over the back of it, said, how about me? Basically, right? It also wouldn't be wrong to just wait 3 weeks, because the options are going to be very different. Very different if Gaethje gets the win. So without doing anything, just laying back, I think that the path for Dustin for a championship is very different at 55 versus 70. If that's what Dustin still wants to do, he may just want to go and do what I'm just calling big fights, fun fights. You get in there with McGregor, there's no title on the line, but boy, is that going to matter. Dustin's last 2 fights, both were against McGregor, are also the biggest pay-per-views of the year for that year, just by example. And then you've got the Nate option. And that one's been very quiet lately. Dustin and Nate had all but agreed on social media to fight. It was as though we were waiting on bout agreements and looking for a date, but that went very quiet. And the next time Dustin spoke, he was speaking about Conor. Conor did not respond. Now you got the Gilbert business. I mean, there's a lot of options, but things could change. I think that Dustin should lay out, keep his options open. Gilbert's still going to be there in 3 weeks, but a new opportunity might be there as well. Something to consider. I want to hear what you think.